Hello again, it's John from the Blood Angels Commander channel, and tonight we're going to be looking at the Judicar. So the Judicar is another new Space Marine that came with the Indomintus box, and he has some really interesting close combat rules, and I really want to try him out, especially being a Blood Angels player. I think in the first game of 9th edition we're going to load him into a repulsor or something, get him across the battlefield, and he looks like a pretty simple model. But what we're going to do in this video, as always, is we're going to try and take him apart or get the bits together, and then we're going to customize him to make him more Blood Angels. It could be a headpiece, could be a shoulder, or maybe it's going to be something more unorthodox. But yeah, alright, let's get straight into it. Alright, so we're going to try the camera in a different position tonight. Hopefully you guys can let me know if it's better or worse. I wasn't really pleased the last time. I feel like my hands were obscuring too much of the model and stuff. So yeah, the Judicar then. He's on this big sprue along with the Eradicators and the Blade Guard Ancient, so it might just take us a few seconds to find him. I think this is him up here, G11. So it says to start with G11 and G10. Oh, that was literally one snip. Okay. G11, G10. Oh no, G8, sorry, so that's his back. I think G10 is his head. And G9 is his sword. Now it's a rather awesome sword, I'll show you in just a second. It's kind of different to the normal sort of sword you might see for a Marine. But yeah, it's almost like a friggin' broadsword from Highlander or something. So it'd be interesting how we paint this, because most of the swords up until now I usually paint like power swords, like even Mephiston's sword I painted like a power sword. But yeah, this looks just more like a clobbering type old school broadsword, so we might go metal with it. Or maybe we could do something interesting where it's like black with a silver edge. So it's like, I don't know what the metal names are in 40k, but it's like some sort of variant on adamantium or something. And that might be cool. So that was, yeah, this guy doesn't have much in terms to do for cleanup. So yeah, as a Blood Angels player, once turn 3 hits in, the sword is going to be doing quite a lot of damage. I think it's and then the option is really to take him as some sort of character, or take him as, you get the new hero of the chapter, where you can pay 1 CP and then take a warlord trait. So I mean, it's really interesting. Or this guy will, I'm really interested to see this guy on the table. He basically also has this ability that we've never seen before that can make your enemies fight last, I think. So like, whoever he's in base contact with, he can say, no, you just fight last with that model. So, I mean, I guess that probably just overrides any sort of interrupting, and you can just be like, you can't interrupt me. So his head is going to be G10. Now, we'll take this head off and have a look at it. It's almost like a skull head, but with a cloth over the mouth. I don't hate it, but I feel like, you know, we could put on like a sanguinary head, might work on this model. I do have a bag of heads, the legendary bag of heads, I guess. Let's put this one to the side for a second and see if there's something I'm trying to work out. So I think, actually, let's get them a little bit more assembled first. So we also need G14, the backpack. G14, here it is. We need G12 and G13 for his arm. So he carries almost like an hourglass, which is kind of interesting, and it's like, that's the hourglass anyway. G13 and G12, where the hell was 12? Could be anywhere. I really can't find it. Huh. Let me read this again. Yeah, G12, so it's a shoulder pad with a bit of an arm coming out of it. Oh, here it is. Okay. And then obviously we need a base. He doesn't have any sort of snazzy things that need to fill up a base, so we ruined a base last night, but we kind of fixed it with the little bit, so do you know what, we'll just use that base for him. We'll maybe try and just take off a little bit of that extra glue that we had. There. That'll be fine, we'll always put texture paint on the base anyway. So, I think so the idea is that you can, well, let's clean these. The idea is that you can put his head in first. I mean, that's the thing with all these easy to build kits, right? They have you cut, they have these notches on the bottom of the heads, so you can like, so when you push fit them together, the heads will just be in there and they can still turn and they can swivel, but if you've watched any of the videos on my channel, we glue everything. We don't like making it easy for ourselves when we paint. No, I think it's just that we like having everything glued on this channel. So this hourglass is kind of neat. It's also going to be very fiddly. So let's start by I'll put the torso together. And as always with torsos and that, we try and put a little bit of glue on the whole edges, and it is poly cement we use, so hopefully we push them pretty firm. The poly cement should do its work, melt some of the plastic and help get rid of any, wow, that really snapped in there, help get rid of any lines where it's glued. I always like to wipe off the extra glue as well if you get it quickly, it helps, I think. And then we've got this massive sword arm. That is a really interesting piece in terms of it's a connector, but it's so that whole bit will go into the joint and then it's like it turns. I've never seen a piece like that before. What did the instructions say? Oh shit, you're supposed to push it in first. Hold on then. See if we can prise them apart a little bit. Yeah. Wow. Okay, so there. Yeah, that's why I've never seen a piece like that before. You're supposed to put that in and attach the arm into that socket there. Do you know what? I need to read the instructions more. I guess as a veteran wargamer, you're just like, yeah, I know what the hell I'm doing. Apparently I don't know shit. Do you know what? We got it quick enough. I'm glad I chose to put that arm on next because right. So quite cool. Let's I'd like to get that edge of that sword a little bit cleaner. I'm going to use a tiny bit of sandpaper here. I think that'll do. That's cleaner than it was. Okay, and then it's basically saying you have choices of the little things that you put down on the base with him. Well, we aren't really putting too much on this base, maybe. We did put a little Necron head on one of the other bases, and it does say you can choose. There's a bunch of different things on the sprue it's saying you can choose. You can choose another like destroyed Necron head, another destroyed Necron head, yeah, so it's I guess because we're fighting Necrons, it's lots of little bits of Necrons. But you know what, I don't really have that many friends that play Necrons, and don't really commonly do that many decals on bases. Like, I just have my bases wear uniform, so I'm actually not going to bother. I'm just going to put him on here, somewhere in the middle, that I think looks good. Put a tiny bit of glue on this cape as well, because it didn't quite, I don't know if it was from when that cape down there hasn't quite stuck together. I mean, I might want to go in there with a little bit of green stuff and fill the gap. We'll see. I mean, the models are what you make of them, right? Like, the more time and effort you spend on them, the better they'll look, and the more people will admire them when you go and play, etc, etc. So it's really up to you how much time and effort you want to spend on them. I can be a little bit too of a perfectionist at times, but okay, so this backpack should be very simple to add on. It's just a push fit backpack, so a tiny bit of glue on the push fit bit. It's probably all we'll need. And then I'm gonna have to leave him on there for a few minutes, because every time I'm moving him, he's coming off the base. So, backpack is on, we'll leave him there for a few minutes. Okay, so while he's there, I guess we'll think about what we're going to do with this arm. So, normally what you can do to make someone a bit more Blood Angels is you could put something on their backpack, like a little thing, or like a little skull with wings or something. I'm looking at his shoulder here and his arm, and you can see, so the shoulder is quite attached. No, obviously it's attached, but it's not as bad as some of the other ones where there's a ton of detail around. Like, we could probably take off that shoulder pad with the snips and put on a Blood Angel shoulder pad. That wouldn't be too difficult to do. So yeah, I mean, the things that we've been doing so far usually involve something of that nature. And then I guess the interesting thing is, like, if you have a crazy close combat character like this, what colours are we painting him? Like, what colours is his robes? What colour is his armour? I very much focus on red, black and gold for this army. He might look neat. Gold, black, sprayed gold, and then with like red around. Or red on the cloak is what I'm trying to say. Right. So we have a few contenders. Like, we have this really awesome Death Company shoulder pad here, with like a nice big skull, a little blood drop on the head. Or we have like a jaggy one. Now there's a lot of clearance around this shoulder, like a lot of the other ones that we were having problems with didn't have any clearance. And then I guess we're going to have to pick a head. I think he's probably stuck now to the base. So obviously this head would need, do you know what, I'll just cut that bottom bit off. I mean, easy to build stuff is useful, but I don't really need it on there. Just going to show you what he might look like. So I guess he'd be like quite a deathly character, which is cool. Do you know what, it is an option to keep him quite deathly. The other option is we could go with a beak. Would this guy fit with a beak? Do you know what? Most of the other ones, I feel like the beaks just, there's most other characters, the ridges around their armour just don't leave enough room. Whereas this guy might be a beak. Well, we were thinking that someone in the assault squad might be a beak, but you know, this guy might be the winner. The other option would be like a reaver head. I'm just going to take this bit off this other head while I'm here. This was the head from the Primaris Lieutenant from last night, where it was like quite armoured, but obviously quite Primaris. It's cool. It's definitely cool. And then something that always ends up on my characters is the Sanguinary Guard death masks. So this guy might look like a death mask, but I think he'd be like, makes him look very angelic, and I don't think that's what we're going for with this guy. Like he isn't super angelic like some of his brothers. He's a bit more grim, and I think he needs something suitably grim to go with that. Something that we sometimes do as well is like, I have a real love of the reaver heads, like the skull faces, and that would kind of work here, but I feel like I've done it a lot on my other characters, right? What about the blood drop and the little... That's interesting. I don't know how well you can see because it's been sprayed black at some point. Yeah, it's a tough decision, I guess. I really don't know. Let's have a look at the Blood Angels Death Company sprue. That's the shoulder, so this will be heads. That isn't a Death Company sprue. Let's put it here. So we could have little spikes and a blood drop. That might be a possibility. Yeah, I'm really struggling to decide tonight. I mean, I just feel like maybe this guy is going to be quite a staple in the army because he seems like he's going to be a bit of a badass. So I really want to pick a helmet that will make him look a badass, and also, yeah, do you know what? This one is going to be the choice, which is like it's a Blood Angel's Death Company head again. It's got a big visor on it, but with blood drops. So maybe the helmet will be like silver with drops of blood painted on it, and it'll be like a front-facing mask, almost a bit like if you've ever played Knights of the Old Republic, where what was his name, Malik, how he'd lost like the front of his face and he had that big metal mask on. In some ways, that's kind of, so I think that's the winner. And then I think the interesting thing now will be, we are going to get rid of this shoulder pad here, and what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and keep his arm intact, and get a different shoulder pad on him. So, like I said, my trick for this is to do not cut where you need to finish. Cut before where you need to be finished. So that you can sort of work down to where you need to end. Because if you just try and do a massive cut with the snips, you'll end up the area you're trying to cut will probably be too thick. You won't be able to get through it, and if you do get through it, then you'll warp so much the model, because the model goes like, well, you can see when you're starting to just snap it off, you can see how it goes all white and stuff. Because you basically, I guess what you're doing there is you're warping the plastic, and you don't need, like, you can work up to it with these sort of things, right? So like, basically what you need to do is you need to just work it down gently to the point where the shoulder pad you want him to be wearing will just cover this and no more. So we're going to make like one or two more cuts, just because I just did this the other night and I feel like there's a maybe. So yeah, so we're trying to trim it down so it's like the size of an old inside the shoulder pad, and then just grab a shoulder pad that you like and try and put it over it, and you'll see, no, we're not even close actually. So lots of little cuts is the way forward. Just basically almost like you were shaving off. Right, we're pretty close now. And when you get close, you can sort of try and push it in and see what's blocking you getting it over the. So it's getting blocked there for sure. And it's quite deep still, this shoulder pad, so we're just going to try and shallow it up a bit. Okay. No, it's still too deep. No, I'm not getting a good. I'm not, like, my snips just aren't catching enough of it from that angle. And then it's still too tall here as well. But we're quite close to the hole that it needs to fit into, right? So it looks like it's a mess, but I mean that's kind of the, you know, that's the only option with these kits where they don't let you choose your shoulders. And the more you do this, the more confident you'll be. It feels a bit weird having spent $100 on the box to then just be like, right, we're just gouging into this plastic, trying our best. Right, we can barely come down anymore. This is actually going to be trickier than I thought it was. I thought it was quite... So I just have a random... This isn't necessarily the shoulder pad I was going to put on him, but I just have a random shoulder pad here for the moment. Right. Then at this point, I guess get whatever you can that'll file them down once you're pretty close, and just go right over, file away everything that you can. Then I think we're probably at a point where if we went and put this arm on the way it's supposed to go on, like so, if we went to put a shoulder pad over it, it would mask a good chunk of the messiness that we've made. So I feel like we're going to go for a bigger shoulder pad. We may even go for one that's got wings out the side, because it's quite big in terms. I just didn't realise, I guess, just how big that arm socket how big that arm socket was. So here's the Blood Angel's shoulder pad with the Blood Angel symbol on it, and like a big bevel, I guess would be the best way to describe it. So yeah, the big bevel would cover all the mess at the back. It might make it a little bit difficult to paint. The shoulder pad's just not sitting low enough for my liking, and I'm trying to decide what the reason for that is. Is it that it can't sit low enough because of the stuff at the top, or is the stuff down the bottom the reason it can't sit low enough? Right, so I mean, it's such a custom arm that I kind of want to keep the arm. I mean, we could have just put a different arm on him, right? But it's got this nice sort of robe thing that he's rocking. Alright, I feel like the shoulder pad is almost sitting low enough now. So I'm just trying to neaten up basically the join where I've been cutting them off, because the shoulder pad isn't going to cover all the it's not going to cover all of the bottom here. So when the shoulder pad sits on it, you can see just at the bottom of the shoulder pad under there's just the tiniest bit of gunky plastic, I guess, that's left. Do you know what? I think I've actually got it now. So I think I'm going to file a little bit of this off now, just because I want the arm to sit a little bit closer to the body. I could take a tiny bit more off the top here. I mean, like, when you're doing this, you're literally taking off shavings, so. But it can be worth it. Let's try this. Okay, so the arm will sit nicely now, and if we try our Blood Angel's shoulder pad, yeah, a little bit of perseverance was the key. So that shoulder pad sits on just about perfectly, completely covers what's underneath. So now we need to decide if that is the shoulder pad we're using, because on the Blood Angel's Death Company sprue we actually have quite a few options. Yeah, we talked about having that cool one with the skull. I mean, this guy, to me, he's gonna, I think a skull would suit him really well. Let's take off the skull shoulder pad and see what that looks like. I mean, the shoulder pad that he came with had nothing on it. It had do you know what, it had the tiniest little skull, but it was like embezzled in the bottom of the pad, like, so the most of the pad would have been, I guess, empty. I mean, you could have put a chapter marking on that pad. You know what, I don't particularly like how it fits, whereas this one with the little edge at the bottom, really, with the little goblet, covers really well. So because there isn't much, I think we just need a bit more coverage from the shoulder pad. So let's see, I'm going to pick up every sprue that isn't the Death Company to begin with. So they do not have any more that cover like that. Let's try a Sanguinary Guard one. It might cover. No, they sit very high up on the shoulder blade, so that won't work. And we tried the big blood drop one the other night on one of the other characters, and it wouldn't sit nicely. Let's see how it sits on this one. Oh, interesting. This might be your winner then. So we actually could put a big blood drop with Sanguinius written on it. It would make painting that backpack challenging, but I mean, yeah, I can't decide. I'm very indecisive tonight, I guess. It's a night of indecisiveness. What other things do we have? Well, we have a Blood Angels upgrade sprue here. I think this one here just works so well because it comes down, and the shoulder pad that we had to hack off came down. So yeah, let's do that. so a tiny bit of glue on that. Can't get the arm to sit nicely now. Okay, I think that's it. And then a bit of glue on the shoulder pad. Yeah, for this one I'm actually going to put a bit of glue inside the shoulder pad as well, just because we don't actually know where the contact points will be now that we've hacked off that other shoulder pad. Like, it's not going to be a flush fit really. So we'll put a bit of glue in there to just make sure that we have them solidly stuck together. And then, yeah, I mean, I guess the thing with these guys is that they carry some sort of time clock thing with them. So I haven't stuck that on all the way, but that's the time clock thing that they carry. And you know what, we'll put his head on as well. I think there won't be too much options with the head in terms of the placement or which way it's looking, just because it's quite a big head and the jawline is quite large. So we try and push down the back of the head so that the jawline protrudes a little bit forward, rather than getting it like stuck behind the rim of his helmet. We'll turn it ever so slightly because that's really all we can do. Right, so it's just a case of deciding now if there's any other options for, I don't know, some other point of customization on him that is... Oh, that bag is not closed. Oh, and there's another head, is it? Yeah. Right, I would like to do something else to customize him if it's possible. On the sanguinary guard screws, they sometimes have something quite interesting. We'll fix that later. If we don't find something interesting on the sanguinary guard, that's alright. We'll look on the back of our veterans. I feel like the sanguinary guard... Cool, so we have a knife with a blood drop on it. I'm thinking straight away the knife with the blood drop on it is interesting. Because I mean, we can slap a knife to him just about anywhere. I mean, I feel like this guy is a deadly close quarters guy. He would have a knife as well. It's a pity that one of his legs isn't showing, or we could attach it to the boot. I'm not sure if there's actually a good place for the knife. Yeah, I don't think there is. Okay. What about this? So in this one you get little grenades, but do you know what? We also get a hand with just a knife in it. So as cool as this little hourglass is, could he just be holding a knife like our guy? I mean, we could even snip the hourglass off and lie it on his base, like. So he's got his hourglass, but he's throwing it on the ground because he's got shit to kill. I did think that what would have been cool, because he's a blood angel, would be if he could hold it, you know, the gauntlets. Because like the gauntlets tend to be quite well, I guess key would be the word, or the globules, basically like his version of the red Grail. The only problem is the only Grail that I've got, or the only Grail that they give you, I think, is in a left hand, which is really annoying. Sometimes, like, there's so many times where you want something and it's like the wrong hand. Yeah, I've got 3 here and they're all left-handed. So yeah, I feel defeated. I feel disappointed in myself and defeated. I mean, he is cool, right? And we did get a shoulder pad on him, and we did change his helmet, so we did something. We did something. I mean, we did chop off all that crap. I can't imagine you know, we've come this far, we've checked a bunch of boxes. Let's there's only what, the Stern Guard veterans and the Blood Angels Assault Squad are really all that we could check. Maybe we're not defeated. I'm going to try this. And we'll see if it doesn't look too terrible. Right, so we've got a right hand holding one of these like calm things, whatever it's called. So we're just going to try and take that calm thing right off there. Sort of where it spreads out a bit. And then I'm just going to quickly see if I can't clean that up a little bit. I think I'm going to go back to my original idea where he's dropped this it's on the ground. I mean, it's so dangly and shit, right? Like, the chances of me not breaking it whenever I take... The first time I take this character out somewhere, that shit's breaking. That's the thing with all these little dangly bits. As cool as they look, they're just an accident waiting to happen sometimes. Okay. Oh, excuse me, I'm going to get a drink here. I made some black coffee earlier, yeah. Oh. Nothing like black coffee to wake you up. Right. Let's see if we can stick this together. So now we've made a Grail that was left-handed only. So we're going to try and take the hand off this. And again, we're going to go in just below the edge of the hand so that we're not cutting where we want it. We're just cutting just before, because quite often when you cut where you want it, you'll make a mistake. So I always advise when you're doing these conversions to cut just before, and then you can like file it away. Or, I mean, I did just say I had 3 of these, so I mean, technically I've got 3 lives, but we should only need 1 life if we're smart and we've cut before. So first of all, we're just going to try and make this, and if we can make it, then maybe you'll have a different hand. And basically, if we can make it and not look terrible, I guess is the second part. So right. I think I've got enough of a contact there that a bit of glue on the top of his hand. We're probably going to have to hold this for a while, but that's okay. So we have I can't decide if I'm happy enough with it, because it's a very hack job where it's just like, you'd probably want to put the bottom of the gauntlet on as well to really make it feel like it is what it's supposed to be. This is so fiddly. I almost just can't hold this enough to even snip at it. So filing that down is going to be real tricky. And at the bottom, what we're going to do is we're going to take off this chain. Right, in some ways we're kind of going to cheat here with basically using the poly cement and some pressure. The poly cement is going to melt some of it, maybe not enough of it though. Where the shit did that just go? Oh, it stuck to my finger. Okay. Get off. I guess some melted plastic is sticking to my finger now. I don't know. We may just go back and stick this on. I just feel like that little bit of chain in between his hand and the hourglass. I've done those little bits of chains in weapons before, like on thunder hammers and stuff, and just it like always breaks, right? Yeah. I can't decide if this looks okay. I mean, it's a right hand holding a goblet. I feel like because I know it's a bit skew-whiff, I'd be upset with it. Do you know, we're going to try and, now that it's stuck a bit, we'll try and move it and try and straighten it up. If it's straight, then I'm probably going to be okay with it. It's the fact that it was all lopsided was making me doubt that I would use it. I think I need to take a little bit off the front of the hand here, because I think that's what's making it angle funny. Right, I really want to go with this idea. I just thought it would be a cool idea that he has a gauntlet of blood, and he walks around the battlefield killing things with this gauntlet of blood. It's straighter now anyway. I mean, it's not still straight, because if it was straight it would stand up, but I suppose the chances of being able to make it straight when the bits are that small are probably slim to none. So let's take off this bit of his arm. Don't make me regret this. And let's try and put the gauntlet on. I mean, it's there or thereabouts. From the side, you can see it's ski whiff. I'm not happy with it from the side. Maybe not so much this side, but that side I'm not happy with. But then, how does he look on the battlefield? I mean, at tabletop level, you know, when he's that far, I don't know what that is, like a meter, no, not even a meter, 50 centimeters from my eyes. He looks pretty decent. It could be straightened up more. Let's take it off for a minute and we'll think. You know, I did say I got 3 rounds at doing it because I have 3 of the gauntlets. I mean, why couldn't they put a single gauntlet in the other hand, in the other side? How annoying. What's this? How to make death come from that blue. I mean, I have right hands for there's some right hands for the Sanguinary Guard there. If we took a right hand and put a right hand on him, we could then put that little knife with the blood on it. Where did the knife that I took off go? I threw it somewhere. Yeah, I mean, how annoying if they just had the goblet one time in the other hand. That would have been legendary. This one has a few hands. Some look empty. I'll take the hand off anyway. Like I said, I've got a few tries of that gauntlet. I mean, if it was straight, would I like it? I think the answer is yes. The problem is it's not straight. But I mean, here's a right hand holding nothing. And then here's a right hand holding a little knife. I mean, the one with them holding a little knife makes them feel like a duelist, which I guess he kind of is supposed to be, right? I think we're going to go with the little knife. The advantage I can see with this knife is that it's not going to break. He's not going to... Like, this thing's going to break for sure. I'm going to be, for the rest of my life, I'm going to be gluing that thing onto this, guys. Okay, so he's going to be rocking an additional knife. I mean, technically in turn 3 we get an additional attack, right? So maybe that's what that's for. He's prepared for shock assault, boys. That's exactly what it is. He's thinking ahead, planning for that turn 3 extra attack, extra -1 AP. So then I guess the question is with this, it is quite cool, but I'm gonna take off the chain that it's dangling from, and we're going to take off the chain on the side. Do you know what, we'll keep the cross, we'll put the cross somewhere else on his body. And the time thing, which I think is supposed to be the thing that like makes him get to choose when other players attack. Maybe it could just be stuck to his body somewhere. I mean, if it was at his feet, it would be cool because it's like he's just dropped it and pulled out the little knife. I can totally get on board with that. There's enough space there as well where I feel like I I wouldn't be struggling to paint like his feet or his cloak because this thing's lying in the way. So I just want to see where this is kind of circular. So if it's lying on something flat, like where's the contact point? Might spray that separately, paint the base a bit and then stick it on. I think that's going to work best. And this little cross he's got, which is kind of neat. He's got these robes here on the left hand side of his body. I'm sure the little cross thing would stick to those. I think it's the same on both sides. Sometimes having a knife is great as well because you can use the tip of the knife to push a component onto the model and then get your sticky gluey fingers off. So yeah, we're just gonna stick his cross thing onto his lapel thing there. Well, either that or we put it actually on his chest plate. Makes the chest plate very busy if it's up there. Do you know what? I've got an idea. What about his arm here? Yeah, that's neat. I think it's definitely different. Oh, come on. I say that about the knife, I now need the knife. Yeah, so like his whole arm then is shoulder pad, cross, little knife. Yes. So I guess the conclusion is we aren't defeated. We defeated it. So I mean, I guess that's 5 models for 5 now in this series where we have made it significantly more different from the box, I guess, different from everybody else's army, which is usually what I'm aiming for. And yeah, I think we'll spray this separately, and then because we won't be able to paint under it. Oh, I'm with you. So one side has holes, one side doesn't. So if you did the side that didn't have holes, then you wouldn't really need to paint under it, from what I can tell. It's quite a big piece to put on the base though, but yeah, I mean, it's like he's dropped it and he's pulled out his knife. That's what I'm going with. Yeah, do you know what, sometimes it's just best to glue the shit and then worry about painting it when you're painting it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to worry about painting it when we're painting it. I'm going to just put a bit of glue here, I think. them sit. Hopefully gravity will do the work for us on that. So we'll give that a second. And yeah, gravity's done its work. So this is one extra attack Judicar. I hope you like it, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it useful, and yeah, thanks very much for checking out the channel. Alright, until next time. And in the next one we'll be doing more of the Indomintus box. Peace.